The first gunman came through the door at exactly 9:47 p.m., and Naomi Wells was refilling water glasses at table 6 when her body recognized the threat before her mind did. She'd been a waitress at Seoul Garden for 14 months, long enough that the Friday night regulars knew her name, knew she had a 7-year-old daughter named Maya, knew she'd remember if they wanted extra banchan or preferred their samgyeopsal well done. Long enough that she'd almost convinced herself this life was real, that the woman in the black apron with flour on her sleeve and a practiced smile was who she actually was. The gunman shattered that illusion in half a heartbeat. He wore a ski mask and carried a Glock 19, and 3 more men filed in behind him, spreading out with the kind of practiced efficiency that told Naomi everything she needed to know. This wasn't a robbery. The way they moved, the way they ignored the dozen other diners and locked onto the corner booth where Jin Park sat, alone with a plate of galbi and a glass of soju, told her this was an execution. The water pitcher slipped from her fingers. Not from fear, from muscle memory taking over. Jin Park didn't look up from his phone. Mid-30s, expensive suit, the kind of quiet confidence that came from being the most dangerous person in any room. Naomi had served him every Friday for 6 months. He tipped 30%, said please and thank you, and asked about Maya's dance recital. He was also the reason the restaurant had 2 men in cheap suits sitting at the bar who never ordered food, just nursed beers and watched the door. Bodyguards, who were currently reaching for weapons they'd never clear from their holsters in time. The first gunman raised his Glock. Naomi moved. She closed the 12 feet between table 6 and Jin Park's booth in 2 seconds, her hand grabbing the metal tray from the service station as she passed. The gunman's finger was tightening on the trigger when she threw the tray like a discus. It hit his wrist with a crack that echoed through the suddenly silent restaurant, and the Glock clattered to the floor. She didn't stop moving. Didn't think. Thinking got you killed. The second gunman swung toward her, and Naomi dropped low, sweeping a chair into his knees. He went down hard, and she was on him before he hit the ground, her knee driving into his throat while her hand twisted the pistol from his grip. She felt the cartilage in his windpipe collapse under the pressure, heard him choke, and the old training whispered, "Neutralize! Move! Don't hesitate!" The third gunman fired. The bullet passed so close to her head she felt the displacement of air, and then she was rolling, coming up behind Jin Park's booth with the liberated pistol in a 2-handed grip. She put 2 rounds center mass into gunman 3. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Silence. Then screaming. The fourth gunman had grabbed a hostage, an elderly woman who'd been celebrating her anniversary. He had the barrel pressed against her temple, backing toward the door, shouting something in Korean that Naomi's brain translated automatically. "Nobody move, or she dies!" Jin Park finally looked up from his phone. His eyes found Naomi, crouched behind his booth with a dead man's gun in her hands and blood spatter across her white shirt, and something flickered across his face. Not surprise. Recognition. "Let her go," Naomi said, her voice flat and cold, and nothing like the woman who'd been refilling water glasses 3 minutes ago. "You came for him. Take your shot or leave." The gunman's eyes darted between her and Jin Park. His hands were shaking. Young, Naomi realized, maybe 25, scared, which made him dangerous. "I said let her go." "Fuck you, Naomi shot him through the right shoulder, exactly where she'd aimed. The angle was impossible, threading the needle between the hostage's head and the gunman's body, but her hands remembered what her mind had tried to forget. 3 years of pretending to be normal, and her body still knew how to kill. The elderly woman screamed and dropped to the floor. The gunman staggered back, his weapon falling, and Naomi was already moving, closing the distance, sweeping his legs and driving him face first into the hardwood. She zip-tied his wrists with the plastic bands she'd pulled from her apron, the ones she was supposed to use for garbage bags. The fifth gunman had fled the moment the shooting started. Naomi stood slowly, her breath coming in controlled measures, and met Jin Park's eyes across the restaurant. He was still sitting, completely calm, one hand wrapped around his soju glass. "Thank you," he said in English, his accent barely noticeable. "That was impressive. Naomi said nothing. Her mind was already calculating exits, witness count, police response time. The bodyguards were finally on their feet, weapons drawn, looking between her and their boss with confused expressions. Jin Park set down his glass and stood, brushing imaginary dust from his suit. I think we should talk, somewhere private. No, Naomi said. She set the pistol on the nearest table, raised her hands to show she was no longer armed. I don't know you. I just saved your life. We're even. Even, Jin smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Miss Wells, I know exactly who you are. Captain Naomi Wells, Delta Force, dishonorably discharged 3 years ago after refusing an unlawful order in Mogadishu. Currently AWOL with an active warrant. Living under the name Naomi Jackson. Daughter Maya, age 7, currently in witness protection in Raleigh under the supervision of U.S. Marshals. The world tilted. Naomi felt her heart rate spike, felt the old panic clawing at her throat. How do you... Because I make it my business to know everyone in my life, Jin said quietly. And you've been serving me dinner every Friday for 6 months. Did you think I wouldn't investigate? Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. You need to leave, Jin continued. Right now, my people will handle the police, but they're going to ask questions. Questions you can't answer without ending up in federal custody. So you're going to walk out the back door, and tomorrow you're going to meet me because we need to talk about the people who just tried to kill me and why they're going to come after you next. They saw your face, Naomi. They saw what you can do. And when their employer finds out his men failed because a waitress took them apart like a special forces operator, he's going to ask why. And then he's going to start digging. And when he finds out you're the woman the military has been hunting for 3 years, the woman who knows where the bodies are buried, you're not going to be a nobody waitress anymore. You're going to be leverage. Naomi's hands were shaking. She curled them into fists. Jin reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. Plain white. No name, just an address in Buckhead and a time 2 p.m. Tomorrow, come alone or don't come at all. But if you care about your daughter staying safe, you'll be there. He walked past her toward the back of the restaurant, his bodyguards flanking him. At the kitchen door, he paused. The man you left alive? He'll tell his employer everything. You have maybe 12 hours before they know your name. I'd suggest you don't go home tonight. Then he was gone, and Naomi was standing in a restaurant full of shell-shocked diners and 3 dead bodies, and the sirens were getting louder. She ran. The back alley smelled like garbage and fryer grease. Naomi stripped off her apron, turned her shirt inside out to hide the blood, and walked. Not running, that drew attention. Just another woman heading home after a long shift, except her hands still shook and her heart was trying to punch through her ribs. Jin Park knew who she was, knew about Maya, knew everything. 3 years. 3 years of being invisible, of working cash jobs and never staying anywhere longer than 18 months. 3 years of supervised video calls with her daughter once a month, watching Maya grow up through a screen while lying about why mommy couldn't come home yet. 3 years of wondering if the people she'd refused to kill in Mogadishu were worth the life she'd lost. And now a Korean mobster knew her secret. And 5 men had tried to execute him in a public restaurant, and she'd done the one thing she'd sworn she'd never do again. She'd gone loud. Naomi caught a bus to the extended stay motel in College Park where she'd been living. Room 237, paid weekly in cash, no ID required. She had a go bag under the bed, always packed, always ready. $1,500, 3 fake IDs, a burner phone, and a Sig Sauer P365 she'd bought off a pawn shop with serial numbers filed off. She was keying the door open when her instincts screamed. The lock had been forced. Subtle, professional, but wrong. The scratches were fresh. Naomi stepped back from the door, her hand moving to the small of her back where she kept a folding knife clipped to her waistband. She was reaching for it when the door exploded outward in a ball of flame and concussive force that picked her up and threw her 15 feet across the parking lot. Her ears were ringing, couldn't hear, could barely see through the smoke and the spots dancing across her vision. She tasted copper, realized she'd bitten through her lip. The motel room was an inferno, flames licking out through the shattered doorway. Someone had rigged her room with explosives. Naomi forced herself to her knees, then her feet. Pain lanced through her left shoulder where she'd hit the asphalt. Probable dislocation. She grabbed it with her right hand and slammed herself against a concrete pillar, feeling the joint pop back into place with a grinding sensation that made her vision white out for a second. People were shouting, running, someone was calling 911. She had to move. Naomi stumbled to the street, flagged down a taxi driven by a Somali man who took one look at her soot-covered face and started to refuse. She threw $200 at him. Airport, now! I'll give you another $200 when we get there. He drove. In the back seat, Naomi forced herself to think through the pain and the adrenaline crash. Jin Park had been right. They'd found her in 12 hours, not the 12 he'd predicted. They'd bombed her room, probably assuming she'd come straight home after her shift. If she'd been 5 minutes earlier, she'd be dead. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then realized it didn't matter anymore. They knew who she was. They knew where she lived. The only thing she had left was Maya, and Maya was in Raleigh under federal protection in a safe house that even Naomi didn't know the location of. She answered. What? Jin Park's voice was calm, almost amused. I assume from the police scanner reports I'm monitoring that you found the bomb. How did you... Because I've been tracking you since you left the restaurant. I needed to know if they'd move on you tonight. Now I know they're serious, and they're fast, and they have resources, which means we're dealing with my uncle, Min Park. He runs the Los Angeles faction, and he's the one who sent those men to kill me. Why are you calling me? Because my offer just became non-negotiable. You need protection, and I need someone I can trust. Someone who isn't on my payroll, who doesn't have divided loyalties. Someone who's capable of keeping me alive long enough to testify against the Yakuza pipeline. Naomi laughed, harsh and bitter. You want me to be your bodyguard? I'm wanted by the federal government. And I'm a criminal informant with immunity. I have the resources to make your legal problems disappear. I have contacts in witness protection who can arrange for you to see your daughter. In person, not through a video screen. Naomi's breath caught. You're lying. I'm offering you a trade. Your skills for my resources. You keep me alive for the next 3 weeks until the trial. I make sure Maya stays safe and you get to hold her again. After that, you disappear. New identity, clean record, enough money to start over anywhere in the world. And if I say no, then Min Park's people will find you in approximately 6 hours. They'll torture you for information about my location and my security protocols. When you don't break, because I suspect you're the type who doesn't break, they'll threaten Maya. They'll show you pictures of her school, her foster family, the route she takes to her dance classes, and then you'll tell them everything because you're a mother before you're a soldier. The taxi pulled into the airport departure terminal. Naomi handed the driver the rest of the cash and stepped out onto the curb. Her reflection in the terminal windows showed a woman who looked like she'd survived an explosion, because she had. There's a private airfield in Peachtree City, Jin said. I'm texting you the address. A plane is waiting. It'll take you to a secure location where we can talk properly. You have 30 minutes to decide if you trust me or if you'd rather run and hope they don't find Maya before you find her. Why should I trust you? Because 3 hours ago, you threw yourself between me and 5 armed men without hesitation. You didn't know who I was. Didn't know if I deserved to live or die. You just saw someone in danger and you moved. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. And I think deep down, you recognize the same thing in me. We're both trying to escape something. The difference is, I have the resources to make it possible. The line went dead. Naomi stood on the curb, people flowing around her like water around a stone. She could run. She'd been running for 3 years. She could disappear again, change her name again, find another anonymous city where nobody asked questions. But Jin was right about one thing. They'd find Maya eventually. And once they did, Naomi would give them anything they wanted. She pulled up the text message. The address glowed on her screen. Peachtree City, 30 minutes south. She stole a car. It wasn't hard. The long-term parking garage was full of vehicles that wouldn't be missed for days. She chose a 10-year-old Honda Accord, popped the lock with a slim gem she fashioned from a wire hanger, and hot-wired the ignition using muscle memory from a training course she'd taken a lifetime ago. 2 minutes start to finish. The drive gave her time to think, which was dangerous. Thinking meant remembering. Remembering meant feeling, and feeling was a luxury she couldn't afford. But the memories came anyway. Mogadishu. The compound. Intel said it was a terrorist safe house. Intel said everyone inside was a combatant. Intel was wrong. When her team breached the door, they found 12 men, 3 women, and 7 children. Her commanding officer had given the order. No. Witnesses. Eliminate the targets, sanitize the site, extract. Naomi had refused, had physically stepped between her team and the civilians, weapon lowered, telling her CO that these weren't combatants. These were families, and if they executed unarmed women and children, they were no better than the terrorists they were hunting. Her CO had called her insubordinate, had threatened court-martial, had raised his weapon to shoot past her, to complete the mission anyway. Naomi had put him on the ground with a broken collarbone and dislocated jaw. The team had extracted without completing the mission. The compound had been bombed from the air 3 hours later, killing everyone inside anyway. And Naomi had been disappeared, discharged, and hunted because she knew the truth. Her unit had been executing civilians under the cover of counter-terrorism operations for over a year. She'd taken Maya and run. The military had put Maya in protective custody to ensure Naomi's silence. And for 3 years, she'd been silent, watching her daughter grow up through a screen, hoping that someday the truth would matter. It never did. The airfield was dark except for a single hangar with lights on. A Cessna Citation sat on the tarmac, engines warming up. 2 men in suits stood by the hangar door, and Naomi recognized them from the restaurant. Jin's bodyguards. She parked the stolen Honda and approached with her hands visible. The bodyguards didn't draw weapons, just nodded toward the plane. "Mr. Park is waiting inside," one said, Korean accent, professional courtesy. "We'll need you to leave any weapons here." Naomi handed over the folding knife, kept the disposable phone. They didn't search her, which told her Jin had given them explicit instructions. She climbed the stairs into the plane. Jin Park sat in one of the cream leather seats, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking rapid Korean, his tone sharp, authoritative. When he saw Naomi, he held up one finger, finished the conversation, and hung up. "You came," he said. "You didn't give me much choice." "There's always a choice. You chose to trust me, at least provisionally." "That's a start." He gestured to the seat across from him. "We'll be airborne in 5 minutes. The flight to the safe house is 40 minutes. I suggest you use that time to rest. You look like you've been through hell." "Your people tried to blow me up." "No, my uncle's people tried to blow you up. There's a significant difference." Jin closed his laptop. "Min Park is my father's younger brother. When my father died 2 years ago, Min expected to inherit the organization. Instead, my father's will gave everything to me. Min has been trying to kill me ever since, but he's been careful. Accidents. Plausible deniability. Tonight was the first time he's gone this overt." "Why?" "Because I'm cooperating with the federal government. In 3 weeks, I testify before a grand jury about the Yakuza's trafficking operations through the Southeast. Weapons, drugs, women. My father built the pipeline, and I'm tearing it down. Min sees this as betrayal. He'd rather see the whole organization burn than watch me legitimize it." The plane's engines revved. Naomi felt the aircraft begin to taxi. "You said you could arrange for me to see Maya." Jin nodded. "I have contacts in the U.S. Marshals Service, the kind of contacts that owe me favors they can't refuse. Maya is in Raleigh, living with a foster family under the name Maya Jackson. She attends Wiley Elementary. Her foster parents are John and Sarah Mitchell, both retired teachers. She's in 2nd grade. Her teacher's name is Mrs. Rodriguez. She takes ballet on Tuesdays and Thursdays." Naomi's vision blurred. She blinked hard. "How do you know all that?" "Because I started researching you the 3rd time you served me dinner and remembered I like extra kimchi. Most waitresses don't pay attention. You did. That kind of attention to detail suggested training, so I had my people look deeper. When they found Captain Naomi Wells, dishonorably discharged, wanted for desertion and assaulting a superior officer, I became curious. When I found out about Maya, I understood." "Understood what?" "Why you'd give up everything, why you'd hide in plain sight, working minimum wage jobs, living in motels. You're not running from consequences, you're protecting your daughter from the people who use her against you." The plane lifted off, Atlanta's lights spreading below them like scattered diamonds. Jin leaned forward. Here's what I'm offering. You provide close protection for the next 3 weeks. You live in my safe house. You don't leave my sight. You keep me alive long enough to testify. In exchange, I arrange a supervised meeting with Maya, 2 hours in person at a secure location. After the trial, I provide you with a new identity, credentials that will pass federal background checks, and $200,000. Enough to start over. Enough to petition for custody of Maya under your new name. And if something happens to you before the trial, then you get nothing and Min's people will keep hunting you, so you're incentivized to keep me alive. Jin smiled, but his eyes were cold. I'm not offering you charity, Captain Wells. I'm offering you a mission. The only difference between this and your time in Delta is that this time, you know exactly who you're protecting and why. Naomi studied him, mid-30s, expensive suit, the kind of bone-deep calm that came from years of violence. He wasn't scared of dying. He was tired of living the life his father had built for him. Why are you really doing this? She asked. Why testify? Why turn on your own family? Jin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. When I was 12, my father made me watch him torture a man who'd stolen from him. He used pliers and a blowtorch. The man begged, cried. Eventually, he just screamed until his voice gave out. My father made me hold the blowtorch, said I needed to understand what power meant. He met Naomi's eyes. I held that blowtorch for 6 hours, and when the man finally died, my father patted my shoulder and told me I'd done well, that I was ready to be his son. I've spent the last 20 years trying to wash the smell of burning flesh out of my memory. So this is redemption. This is escape, same as you. Jin stood, moved to the small galley, poured 2 glasses of whiskey. He handed one to Naomi. We're both trying to outrun our father's legacies. The difference is, mine is trying to kill me for it. Naomi took the glass, but didn't drink. If I do this, I have conditions. Name them. I'm not your employee. We're partners. Equal say in security decisions. I don't take orders. I give recommendations, and you listen. If I say we move, we move. If I say someone's a threat, they're a threat. Jin nodded. Agreed. And I want proof. Proof that Maya is safe. Proof that you can actually arrange a meeting. I'm not risking my life on promises. I'll have verification by morning, photos, current location, security detail, and I'll initiate contact with the marshals tonight. Jin raised his glass. Anything else? Yeah. What happens if Min succeeds? If he kills you before the trial, what happens to Maya? Jin's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. I've arranged a dead man's switch. If I die before the trial, a package gets delivered to the FBI with everything I know about Min's operations, his contacts, his safe houses. It won't save me, but it'll destroy him. And part of that package includes instructions to maintain protection for Maya Wells under her current placement. Min would have no reason to touch her if I'm already dead. Unless he wants revenge. Min wants power, not revenge. He's pragmatic. Messy vengeance draws federal attention he can't afford. Jin sipped his whiskey. But I don't plan on dying, which is why you're here. The plane leveled off at cruising altitude. Below them, darkness stretched in every direction, except for the occasional cluster of lights marking small towns. Tell me about the 5 men in the restaurant, Naomi said. Professional? Semi-professional, local contractors, probably hired through intermediaries so Min could maintain deniability. The one you left alive will talk, but only to say he was hired by someone who was hired by someone else. It's how Min operates, layers of insulation. They were sloppy. A professional hit team would have taken out your bodyguards first, secured the exits, then made the move. These guys just rushed in. Because Min is getting desperate. The trial is in 3 weeks. Every day I'm alive is another day his empire crumbles. The Yakuza connections are pulling back. The legitimate businesses are severing ties, and his own people are starting to question his judgment. Tonight was a Hail Mary. Then he'll try again, soon, and next time he'll send better people. Jin nodded. Which is why we're going dark. The safe house is off the books. Only 3 people know the location. Me, You and David Kim, my head of security. No staff, no drivers, no unnecessary exposure. We stay there until the trial. 3 weeks in isolation with a man I just met. This keeps getting better. You'll have your own wing, privacy, space. I'm not asking you to like me, Captain Wells, just to keep me breathing. The plane began its descent. Naomi looked out the window and saw nothing but darkness below. No city lights, no highways. Wherever they were going, it was remote. They landed on a private strip carved out of what looked like dense forest. A single SUV waited on the tarmac, engine running. The driver was a Korean man in his 40s, military bearing, expensive suit. He nodded to Jin as they deplaned. David Kim, Jin said by way of introduction. Head of security. He's been with my family for 15 years. David, this is Captain Naomi Wells. She'll be handling my close protection until the trial. David's eyes flicked over Naomi. Professional assessment. I heard about the restaurant. Impressive work. Just instinct. Instinct doesn't put 3 men down in under 30 seconds. That's training. David opened the rear door of the SUV. Welcome to the team, Captain. They drove for 20 minutes on unmarked dirt roads, headlights cutting through absolute darkness. No street signs, no landmarks, just trees and more trees. Finally, they turned onto a gravel driveway that led to a sprawling modern structure built into the side of a mountain. All glass and steel and stone, invisible from the road, positioned. So the only approach was a single driveway they'd just used. The safe house, Jin said, built by my father as a fallback position, reinforced concrete walls, bulletproof glass, independent power supply, 6 months of food and water. There's a panic room in the basement with a tunnel that leads to an exit point half a mile north. If something goes wrong, we can be gone in under 3 minutes. David parked in the underground garage. Inside, the safe house was sparse but functional. High ceilings, minimal furniture, security monitors covering every angle of the property. Naomi counted 8 cameras on the exterior, motion sensors, and what looked like automated defense systems built into the roofline. Your wing is on the 2nd floor, east side, Jin said, pointing toward a hallway. Bedroom, bathroom, office space. There's tactical gear in the closet, body armor, weapons. Help yourself to whatever you need. We'll do a full security briefing in the morning. Naomi nodded, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by the bone-deep fatigue that came after combat. She'd been running on fumes since the restaurant. One more thing, Jin said as she turned toward the stairs. Thank you for tonight. You didn't have to do what you did. Yes, I did. Why? Naomi thought about the compound in, say, Mogadishu. The children. The choice between following orders and following her conscience. Because someone told me once that the measure of who you are isn't what you do when it's easy. It's what you do when everything's on fire and you have to choose between what's right and what's safe. And you chose right. I chose to live with myself. There's a difference. Naomi climbed the stairs, found her wing, and locked the door behind her. The bedroom was utilitarian. Queen bed, dresser, single window overlooking the forest. She checked the closet and found exactly what Jin had promised. Tactical vest, Kevlar plates, a selection of weapons including a Glock 19, a Sig Sauer P226, and a Remington 870 shotgun. Ammunition, night vision goggles, a go bag already packed. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. She answered. What now? Check your email, Jin's voice said. The verification you requested. Naomi pulled up her email on the burner phone. New message. No subject, just attachments. She opened the first one and her breath caught. Maya, standing outside a yellow house with blue shutters, backpack on her shoulders, smiling at someone off camera. The photo was dated today. She was wearing the pink jacket Naomi had sent her 3 months ago for her birthday. The second attachment was a video. 30 seconds. Maya in a dance studio, practicing pirouettes, her tongue sticking out in concentration the way it always did when she was focused. Her hair was longer now, pulled back in a bun. She'd lost a tooth, the gap visible when she smiled at the instructor. The third attachment was a document, official U.S. Marshal's letterhead. A request for supervised visitation, pending approval, location to be determined. Filed today, signed by someone named Deputy Marshal Sarah Chen. Naomi sat on the bed, phone trembling in her hands. For 3 years, she'd only seen Maya through video calls, 30 minutes once a month, supervised, monitored, never allowed to say where she was or when she'd come home. Just, Mommy loves you, and be good for your foster family, and I'll see you soon, knowing soon might never come. Now Jin Park, a man she'd met 6 hours ago, had arranged more than the federal government had given her in 3 years. Her phone buzzed again. Text message from Jin. The meeting is scheduled for 1 week from today, 2 hours, supervised at a secure location in Asheville. Keep me alive for 7 days and you get to hold your daughter again. That's the deal. Naomi typed back, what if Min attacks before then? Then you do what you did in the restaurant. You keep moving and you don't let anyone get close enough to pull the trigger. She set the phone down and lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. 7 days, 168 hours. She'd survived 3 years of running and hiding. She could survive 7 days of protecting a mobster who wanted to escape his father's legacy. Because at the end of those 7 days, she'd get to hold Maya again, and for that, she'd walk through fire. Sleep came eventually, restless and full of dreams. Mogadishu, the restaurant, explosions and gunfire, and Maya's face on a screen, asking when Mommy was coming home. She woke at dawn to the sound of her phone buzzing. Text from David Kim, briefing in 30 minutes, war room first floor. Naomi showered, dressed in black tactical pants and a fitted t-shirt, strapped the Glock to her hip and a knife to her ankle, checked the security feeds from the tablet mounted on her wall. Everything quiet. The war room was in the center of the first floor. No windows, reinforced walls. David Kim stood in front of a bank of monitors showing security camera feeds, satellite imagery, and what looked like traffic camera access throughout Atlanta. Jin sat at the conference table, coffee in hand, looking like he'd been up for hours. Morning, Jin said. Coffee's on the counter. You'll need it. Naomi poured herself a cup, black, and joined them at the table. David pulled up a series of photographs on the main screen. Min Park, David said, pointing to a man in his 50s, thick build, expensive suit, cold eyes. Jin's uncle runs the Los Angeles operation. Former enforcer, worked his way up through violence and loyalty to Jin's father. When the old man died, Min expected succession. Instead, Jin got everything. Family drama, Naomi said. Family war, Jin corrected. Min controls the trafficking routes, the muscle, the old guard who remember when the organization was built on fear instead of business. I control the legitimate fronts, the political connections, the money laundering infrastructure. We've been in a cold war for 2 years. Last night it went hot. David clicked to the next image. A younger man, maybe 30, lean and hungry looking. Paulo Reyes, Min's new lieutenant, former cartel enforcer from Sinaloa, no loyalty to the Korean organization, which is exactly why Min brought him in. Paulo doesn't care about tradition or family politics. He cares about getting paid and building his reputation. He's the one who planned the restaurant attack, Jin said. Min's too careful to get his hands dirty. Paulo's his weapon. How do you know? Because I have people inside Min's operation. Not many, and none close to the center, but enough to give me warning. Jin's expression darkened. They told me about the hit 3 hours before it happened. I went to the restaurant anyway. Naomi set down her coffee cup carefully. You used yourself as bait. I needed to know how serious Min was, if he'd really crossed the line into open warfare, and I needed to see if my security was compromised. Jin looked at David. Tell her. David's jaw tightened. The restaurant was supposed to be secure. Only my team knew Jin would be there last night. The fact that 5 shooters showed up at exactly the right time means someone on my team gave them the schedule. You have a mole. Had a mole. We found him 2 hours ago. Surveillance tech named Marcus Chen. He'd been feeding Paulo information for the last 3 weeks. Locations, schedules, security protocols. Where is he now? Dead, Jin said flatly. Suicide. Hung himself in his apartment before we could question him. Left a note saying he'd been threatened, that Paulo had his sister, that he didn't have a choice. Naomi understood immediately. Paulo killed the sister after Marcus gave them the restaurant location. Loose ends. That's how Paulo operates, David said. He burns his assets, uses them once, then eliminates them so they can't flip. It makes him unpredictable because we can never trace the information back to its source. Jin stood and walked to the monitors. Here's what we know. Min has contracted Paulo to kill me before the trial. Paulo has unlimited resources, no conscience, and a reputation to build. Every day I'm alive makes Paulo look weak to his former cartel contacts. He needs this win. What about the feds? You're a protected witness. The FBI has me in a hotel in Atlanta with a 3-man security detail. I walked away from that protective custody last night because I don't trust it. Too many people know too many details. The U.S. Attorney's Office has been compromised before. I'm not betting my life on federal protection. David pulled up another image. A woman in her 40s, FBI jacket, professional demeanor. Special Agent Sarah Brennan, she's the lead agent on Jin's case, handling his protective custody and trial coordination. She's been with the Bureau for 18 years, decorated record, multiple commendations. You trust her? I don't trust anyone, Jin said. But Sarah's been straight with me so far. She knows I've gone dark. She's not happy about it, but she understands why. The trial is in 21 days. As long as I show up alive to testify, she doesn't care how I get there. Naomi studied the monitors, the security feeds, the tactical layout. This place is defensible, but it's also a trap. One way in, one way out. If Paulo finds this location, we're pinned down. That's why only 3 people know we're here, David said. Me, Jin, and now you. No staff, no deliveries, no outside contact except for secured phones. We have enough supplies to last until the trial without leaving. What about your sister? Naomi asked Jin. The one in your file. Min could use her as leverage. Jin's expression went carefully blank. Sojin is studying abroad, Oxford. She's been there for 2 years, completely removed from the family business. Min won't touch her because it would bring international attention he can't afford. Something in his tone made Naomi push. You sure about that? I'm not sure about anything anymore. Jin turned from the monitors. Which is why we operate on the assumption that everyone is compromised and nowhere is safe except here. We stay locked down, we maintain operational security, and we trust no one outside this room. David's phone buzzed. He looked at it, frowned, and showed Jin the screen. Jin read whatever was there and closed his eyes. What? Naomi asked. Marcus Chen's sister. Her body was found this morning in a dumpster behind a warehouse in Koreatown, tortured before she was killed. Paulo wanted to send a message. What message? That there's no such thing as innocent casualties in this war. Jin pocketed his phone. He's escalating. The restaurant was a statement. This is psychological warfare. He wants me to know that anyone associated with me, anyone who helps me, anyone who even knows me, is a target. Naomi thought about Maya, about the yellow house with blue shutters, about Jin's promise that his dead man's switch would protect her. You said Min is pragmatic, that he wouldn't go after civilians. Min is pragmatic. Paulo isn't, and right now Paulo is running the operation. Jin met her eyes. If you want out, now's the time, before this gets worse. How much worse can it get? As if in answer, David's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went pale. When? How many? Okay. Lock it down. Nobody in or out. He hung up and looked at Jin. The Azure table, your restaurant downtown, it's on fire. Witnesses report seeing 3 men pour gasoline through the windows and light it. Fire department's on scene, but the building's a total loss. Jin didn't react, just stared at the monitor showing traffic camera footage of smoke rising from the downtown Atlanta. Paulo's sending another message, Naomi said. He's destroying your assets, making you watch your empire burn. It's not about the restaurant, Jin said quietly. It's about the people. The Azure table had a staff of 35. Weekend morning shift would have been 8 people. Cooks, waiters, managers. He pulled out his phone, dialed, waited. Sarah, it's me. The Azure table is burning. Tell me everyone got out. He listened, and something in his face cracked. How many? Jesus. Okay. Yes. I understand. No, I'm not coming in. I can't. Just Please make sure their families are taken care of. Whatever they need, everything. He hung up. 2 dead, he said, kitchen staff, trapped in the back when the fire spread. 3 more in critical condition with burns. Naomi felt the old familiar anger rising, the kind that had gotten her discharged from Delta, the kind that made her step between her CO and unarmed civilians. This is on Paulo? This is on me, Jin said. I started this war when I decided to testify. Every person Paulo kills, every building he burns, that's because of my choice. No, that's because Paulo is a murdering psychopath and Min is a coward who hires other people to do his killing. Naomi stood. You want to honor those people who died? You stay alive? You testify. You put Min and Paulo and everyone like them in a cage where they can't hurt anyone else. That's how you make this mean something. Jin looked at her, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw something other than calculated control in his eyes. She saw grief, raw and sharp and human. I need air, he said and walked out of the war room. David waited until Jin was gone, then turned to Naomi. He's not going to make it. What? 3 weeks is too long. Paulo will find this location eventually, or he'll hurt enough people that Jin turns himself in just to make it stop. I have known him since he was 15 years old. He's not his father. He actually gives a damn about people, which is why Min is winning. Min would burn down half of Atlanta and sleep like a baby. Jin will sacrifice himself before he lets anyone else die. Then we don't let Paulo find us and we don't let Jin give up, Naomi said. You said you have people inside Min's organization. Use them. I want to know where Paulo is, where he's staying, who he's working with. If he wants to make this personal, we make it personal right back. David studied her. You're talking about going on offense. I'm talking about survival. Sitting here waiting for Paulo to pick us off one piece at a time isn't a strategy. It's suicide. Naomi pulled up the satellite imagery on the monitor, zoomed in on Atlanta. Jin said Paulo operates out of Koreatown. That's what, 20 square blocks? He has to have a base of operations, somewhere he's coordinating from. Even if we find it, we can't just assault a position in the middle of the city. This isn't Mogadishu. There are laws, police, witnesses. Then we don't assault it. We surveil it. We gather intelligence. We figure out his patterns, his security, his weaknesses. And when the time comes, we use that information to stay 3 steps ahead of him instead of 3 steps behind. David was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. I'll reach out to my contacts, see what I can find, but Jin won't approve this. He'll say it's too risky. Jin doesn't get a vote. He hired me to keep him alive. This is how I do it. Naomi headed for the door. I'm going to check the perimeter, make sure we're actually as secure as you think we are. She found Jin on the back deck, overlooking the forest. The morning sun filtered through the trees, and for a moment, the world looked almost peaceful. Almost like the violence and death were someone else's problem. 2 people died today because of me, Jin said without turning around. Rosa Martinez, line cook, 3 kids, Chen Wei, dishwasher, sending money back to his mother in Taiwan. I knew their names, I knew their families, and now they're dead. Naomi leaned against the railing beside him. In Mogadishu, there was a girl, maybe 10 years old. She was in the compound when we breached. My CO said she was a combatant, that she'd been trained to carry explosives, that we couldn't take chances. He raised his weapon. I knocked it aside, told him she was a child, not a target. What happened? 3 days later, she walked into a marketplace wearing a suicide vest and killed 17 people. Naomi's hands tightened on the railing. I saved her life. She took 17 others. For 3 years, I've been asking myself if I made the right call. If those 17 deaths are on me because I chose to see a child instead of a threat. And what answer did you come up with? That there are no right answers in war, just choices you have to live with. Naomi looked at him. Rosa and Chen didn't die because of you. They died because Paulo Reyes is a killer who uses innocent people as weapons. You can take responsibility for your choices. You can't take responsibility for his. Philosophy from a waitress turned bodyguard. Philosophy from someone who's spent 3 years wondering if the cost of her principles was worth it. Naomi pushed off the railing. You want to honor Rosa and Chen? Stop Paulo before he kills anyone else. That's the only answer that matters. Jin was quiet for a long moment. You're right. About going on offense, we can't just hide and hope. Paulo won't stop until I'm dead or he is. Then we make sure it's him. They went back inside. David was on the phone, speaking rapid Korean, his expression grim. When he saw them, he hung up. I have something, he said. Well, Paulo is running his operation out of a nightclub in Koreatown called Dragon's Den. It's owned by one of Min's shell companies. Used to be a front for money laundering. Now it's Paulo's headquarters. My contact says he's there every night, usually with 4 to 6 guards. He's arrogant, doesn't think anyone would be stupid enough to come after him on Min's territory. What about during the day? Naomi asked. The club is closed, maybe 1 or 2 people on site. Cleaning crew, maintenance, nothing heavy? Jin shook his head. Even if we could get intelligence, what's the play? We can't kill Paulo. He's just Min's weapon. Min would replace him in 24 hours with someone worse. We're not trying to kill him, Naomi said. We're trying to disrupt his operation, steal his intel, figure out how he's getting his information. Maybe we find out who else in your organization is compromised. Maybe we find evidence we can use to bring in the feds. Maybe we just make him paranoid enough that he makes a mistake. That's a lot of maybes. It's better than sitting here waiting for him to light another building on fire. Naomi turned to David. Can your contact get us building schematics for Dragon's Den? Security systems, entry points, camera placement? David nodded slowly. Probably. But it'll take a day or two, and if my contact gets caught asking questions, Paula will know someone's interested in the club. Then your contact needs to be careful. Naomi pulled up a map of Koreatown on the monitor. What about external surveillance? Can we get eyes on the building without going inside? There's a parking garage across the street with a clear sight line to the front entrance, David said. We could set up long-range surveillance equipment, track who goes in and out, build a pattern of life analysis. Do it. Tonight. I'll go with you, Jin stepped forward. Absolutely not. If Paulo's people spot you, they'll know I'm still in the area. This whole safe house becomes compromised. Then we don't get spotted. Naomi met his eyes. You hired me to keep you alive. Trust me to do my job. My job is to trust no one, including you. Then fire me, send me away, but you and I both know you won't because you need me and we both know it. Naomi didn't blink. You said it yourself. Everyone else in your organization might be compromised. David might be compromised. I'm the only person you know for certain isn't working for Min because Min's people tried to blow me up. So either you trust me to do this or you lock yourself in that panic room and hope Paulo gets bored before the trial. Jin looked at David. David shrugged. She's not wrong. And we need intelligence if we're going to stay ahead of Paulo. I can handle the surveillance setup. Captain Wells can provide overwatch in case something goes wrong. And if something does go wrong, then we extract, burn the surveillance equipment, and disappear before anyone can track us back here, Naomi said. But nothing's going to go wrong because we're going to be smart and careful and professional. Jin studied her for a long moment. You have 7 days until you see your daughter. Don't do anything stupid that gets you killed before then. Same to you. That night, Naomi and David left the safe house at 2 a.m. They took the SUV, driving with no lights until they hit the main road, then blending into the sparse, late-night traffic heading toward Atlanta. David had changed into civilian clothes, baseball cap pulled low. Naomi wore dark jeans and a hoodie, her Glock concealed under the fabric. The drive took 90 minutes. They parked 3 blocks from Dragon's Den in a residential area where the SUV wouldn't stand out. David carried a duffel bag full of surveillance equipment, long-range cameras, directional microphones, laptop with encrypted satellite uplink. The parking garage was 4 stories, mostly empty at this hour. They took the stairs to the 3rd floor, found a corner spot with a clear view of Dragon's Den across the street. The club was dark, a single security light over the front entrance. No movement visible. David set up the camera on a tripod, attached it to the laptop, and began configuring the software. We'll get 24-hour coverage, facial recognition, vehicle tracking, pattern analysis. By tomorrow night, we'll know everyone who goes in and out of that building. Naomi scanned the street through binoculars. Koreatown at 3 a.m. was quiet but not dead. A few bars still open, groups of people smoking on sidewalks, a homeless man pushing a shopping cart, normal urban landscape, except for the black Mercedes parked half a block down from Dragon's Den with two men sitting in the front seat, not moving, just watching. David, Naomi said quietly, 3 o'clock. Mercedes, 2 occupants. David shifted the camera, zoomed in. The license plate came back, registered to one of Min's companies. Paulo's security, they're running counter-surveillance, which means Paulo is inside the club right now. Or Min is. Either way, that's a problem. Naomi watched the Mercedes. The men inside weren't paying attention to the parking garage. They were focused on the street, watching for threats approaching the club. Professional, but not paranoid. How long to finish the setup? 5 minutes. Then finish it and let's get out of here before they start expanding their perimeter. David worked quickly, finalizing the camera positioning, testing the satellite uplink. The laptop showed a clear feed of Dragon's Den's entrance. Anyone coming or going would be captured and logged. Done, David said, packing up the rest of his equipment. We're live. They were halfway down the stairs when Naomi heard footsteps below them. Multiple people, moving fast, coming up. She grabbed David's arm, pulled him back toward the 3rd floor. How many? David whispered. Naomi listened. At least 3. Moving with purpose. They moved away from the stairwell, deeper into the parking garage. The 3rd floor was nearly empty, just a handful of cars scattered across the concrete expanse. No cover, nowhere to hide except behind vehicles. Naomi pulled David behind a truck, drew her Glock. They sweep this floor, we're compromised, we need another exit. There's a service elevator on the north side, requires a key card. Then we make one. Naomi scanned the parked cars, spotted a newer model sedan with an RFID reader near the driver's door. That car, owner probably has building access. Can you pop the lock? David was already moving. He pulled a Slim Jim from his jacket, had the door open in 15 seconds. The glove compartment yielded a parking pass and a building access card. The footsteps reached the 3rd floor. Voices in Korean, casual conversation. Not alarmed, just making rounds. Naomi and David moved quickly to the north side of the garage. The service elevator was industrial, marked maintenance only. David swiped the stolen card. The light turned to green. The doors opened with a grinding sound that echoed across the garage. The voices stopped. Then rapid Korean, urgent tones, running footsteps. Go, Naomi said, pushing David into the elevator. She followed, hit the ground floor button, and the doors closed just as 3 men rounded the corner. One of them shouted, raising a weapon. The elevator descended with agonizing slowness. Naomi counted seconds. 8 floors at roughly 3 seconds per floor. 24 seconds before the doors opened. The men above would be taking the stairs, radioing ahead to cut them off at ground level. We're blown, David said. Not yet. We got the surveillance up. We can disappear before they ID us. Naomi checked her Glock. 15 rounds. She hadn't wanted to bring it, hadn't wanted the risk, but old instincts had insisted. Now she was grateful. The elevator reached ground level. The doors opened into a maintenance corridor. Concrete walls, fluorescent lighting. Emergency exit sign glowing red at the far end. They ran. Behind them, a door slammed open, shouting in Korean. Naomi didn't need translation to understand. Stop! Don't move! She kept running, 20 feet to the exit. 15, 10, a gunshot. The bullet sparked off the concrete wall beside her head. David stumbled, caught himself, kept moving. Naomi spun, dropped to one knee, fired 3 rounds back down the corridor, suppressing fire, not aimed to kill, just to make them take cover. It worked. The pursuers dove behind a support pillar. She was up and moving again, hit the emergency exit door at full speed, crashed through into an alley behind the parking garage. The SUV was 3 blocks away. Too far. They'd never make it on foot with armed pursuit. This way, David said, pulling her left. They cut through the alley, emerged onto a side street. A cab was idling outside a convenience store, driver inside buying coffee. Naomi yanked open the back door, shoved David inside, followed him in. Drive. Now. $100 if you move right now. The driver came running out of the store, saw them in his cab, started to protest. Naomi threw 520s at him. Drive or I take the car. Your choice. He drove. They got 3 blocks before Naomi looked back and saw the Mercedes from outside Dragon's Den turning onto the street behind them. Faster. Lady, I don't know what you're into, but I don't want trouble. Then drive faster and you won't have any. Naomi watched the Mercedes gain ground. 2 blocks back. 1.5. The cab was old, underpowered. The Mercedes was a performance machine. This wasn't a chase they could win. David, options. The freeway is 6 blocks north. We get on I-85. We can lose them in traffic. It's 3 a.m. There is no traffic. Naomi made a decision. Driver, take the next right, then pull over. What? No, I'm not. Do it, or I put a bullet through your engine block and we all walk. He took the right, pulled over. Naomi threw another 100 at him. Out. Both of you. Run that direction and don't look back. The driver didn't need to be told twice. David hesitated. What are you doing? Buying us time. Take the duffel. Get back to the SUV. I'll meet you there in 10 minutes. Naomi, that's an order. Move. David grabbed the surveillance equipment and ran. Naomi slid into the driver's seat of the cab, checked the rearview mirror. The Mercedes was 2 blocks back, closing fast. She put the cab in gear and took off, leading them away from David. The Mercedes stayed on her. Good. That meant they hadn't seen David split off. Naomi took a hard left, then another right, weaving through Koreatown's side streets. The cab handled like a boat, too much body roll, brakes that grabbed unevenly. The Mercedes stayed glued to her bumper. She needed an equalizer. Ahead, a construction site, orange barriers, heavy equipment parked behind chain-link fence. Naomi aimed for the barriers, hit them at 40 miles per hour. The cab crashed through, bounced over rough ground, and slid to a stop in a cloud of dust. The Mercedes followed, crashing through the same barriers. Naomi was already out of the cab, using it as cover, Glock raised. The Mercedes stopped 30 feet away. Both front doors opened. 2 men emerged, weapons drawn. Drop the gun, one shouted in accented English. Mr. Park wants to talk. Wrong, Mr. Park, Naomi called back. Tell Min his nephew says hello. Confusion flickered across their faces. In that moment of hesitation, Naomi fired. Not at the men, at the Mercedes. 2 rounds through the front tire, 1 through the radiator. Steam hissed into the air. The vehicle sagged onto its rim. She was moving before they could react, sprinting for the far side of the construction site. More gunfire, bullets kicking up dirt around her feet. She vaulted the back fence, dropped into an alley, and ran. 4 blocks. 5. She could hear sirens now. The gunfire had drawn attention. Good. That would keep Paulo's people pinned down, explaining to Atlanta PD why they were shooting up a construction site. 6 blocks. She reached the SUV. David was in the driver's seat, engine running. She threw herself into the passenger seat. Go, David went. They were on the freeway heading north before either of them spoke. That was insane, David said. That was necessary. They saw my face. By morning, Paulo will know someone was surveilling his club and he'll know it was a black woman. He'll start connecting dots, which means the safe house is compromised. No, it means Paulo knows I'm alive and I'm working with Jin. He doesn't know where we are. Naomi's hands were shaking from adrenaline. She forced them still. The surveillance equipment is still active? David nodded. Broadcasting to a secure server, we'll have 24-hour coverage of Dragon's Den. Then, tonight wasn't a loss. We got what we came for. They drove in silence for 20 minutes before David spoke again. You were Delta Force, Black Ops, but you still follow rules of engagement. You could have killed those men. You didn't. Because this isn't war. It's not even close. Naomi stared out the window at the dark highway. In war, you know who the enemy is. You know what you're fighting for. This is just survival, and I'm not killing anyone unless I have to. Even if they're trying to kill you. Especially then, because the moment I start killing people who are just following orders, just trying to earn a paycheck, just caught in someone else's war, I become the thing I walked away from in Mogadishu. They reached the safe house as the sun was rising. Jin was waiting in the war room, coffee in hand, looking like he hadn't slept. Well? He asked. Surveillance is live, David said. We'll start getting actionable intelligence. Within 24 hours. And Paulo knows someone is watching him, Naomi added, which means he'll either get paranoid and make mistakes or he'll escalate. Either way, we'll see it coming. Jin studied her. You were seen. I was engaged. There's a difference. They saw a black woman in a cab leading them on a chase through Koreatown. They don't know who I am or where I came from. They'll figure it out. Paulo is many things, but he's not stupid. Black woman, military training, shows up the same night 5 of his contractors die in a restaurant. He'll connect you to me. Let him! It doesn't change anything. We're still locked down here. He still doesn't know this location. And now we have eyes on his operation. Naomi poured herself coffee. 6 days until I see Maya. Until then, Paulo can connect all the dots he wants. He's not getting through me to you. Jin was quiet for a moment. Then, David, give us the room. David left. Jin waited until the door closed. Thank you, he said, for tonight, for taking that risk. It's what you're paying me for. No, I'm paying you to keep me alive. You went above and beyond. You put yourself in danger to get intelligence that might save both of us. That's not in the job description. Naomi set down her coffee. You want to know why I really did it? Because I'm tired of running. Tired of hiding. Tired of being afraid that every knock on the door is someone coming to kill me or take Maya away. For 3 years I've been reactive, always one step behind. Tonight, I was proactive. I chose the fight instead of letting the fight choose me. And it felt good. Even though you almost died? Especially because I almost died. Because it reminded me I'm still alive. Still capable. Still someone who can fight back. She met his eyes. You said we're both trying to escape our father's legacies. Maybe the only way out is through. Maybe we can't escape until we burn it all down. Jin smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. You sound like a soldier. I sound like someone who's finally done running. The surveillance feed from Dragon's Den started producing results within 12 hours. David had the footage running on multiple monitors in the war room, facial recognition software flagging every person who entered or left the club. By midnight, they had a pattern. Paulo Reyes arrived at Dragon's Den every evening around 10 p.m., always with 4 bodyguards. He stayed for 3 to 4 hours, meeting with various people who came and went. Some faces David recognized from Min's organization. Others were unknowns, drug dealers probably, street enforcers, the infrastructure of Paulo's war machine. But one face made Jin stop cold. Go back, he said, pointing at the screen. That woman. Zoom in. David rewound the footage, froze it on a woman in her 30s, Asian, business suit, entering Dragon's Den at 11:43 p.m. That's Special Agent Sarah Brennan, Jin said quietly. The FBI agent handling my protective custody. Naomi leaned closer. The facial recognition software confirmed it. Sarah Brennan, Federal Bureau of Investigation, currently assigned to the Organized Crime Task Force. Your FBI handler is meeting with Paulo, Naomi said. She's the leak. Jin's hands clenched into fists. She knows everything, every safe house location, every movement plan, every piece of evidence I've provided. She's been feeding it all to Paulo. Which means Min has someone inside the bureau, David said. Either Sarah's on his payroll or she's being blackmailed. Doesn't matter which, Naomi said. What matters is that the entire federal protective custody apparatus is compromised. If you go back, if you trust them to protect you until the trial, Paulo will know exactly where you are. Jin pulled out his phone, stared at it. I need to call the U.S. attorney, report this, get Sarah removed from the case. And say what? That you've been conducting illegal surveillance on a suspected cartel lieutenant, that you've been in contact with your security team while supposedly in protective custody, that you have evidence of FBI corruption, but you're currently hiding in an undisclosed location in violation of your witness agreement? Naomi shook her head. The moment you make that call, you give up your only advantage. They don't know where you are? Then what do you suggest? We use Sarah. We feed her false information through back channels. We make Paulo think he knows where you are, then we hit him when he comes for you. A trap, David said, using Jin as bait. No, using a location as bait. Jin doesn't need to be there. We just need Paulo to think he is. Jin considered this. It's risky. If Paulo suspects it's a trap, he won't take the bait. Or worse, he'll send more people than we can handle. Then we make it believable. We make Paulo desperate to take the shot. Naomi pulled up the map of Atlanta on the monitor. What assets do you have that Paulo would believe you'd run to? Somewhere isolated, defensible, but not too obvious. David thought for a moment. There's a warehouse in South Atlanta. Jin's father used to store imports there, legal and otherwise. It's been empty for 6 months since we shut down the smuggling operation. But Paulo would know about it. He might believe Jin would use it as a temporary safe house. Perfect. We leak the location to Sarah through a controlled channel. Make her think she's getting the intel from an inside source who doesn't know she's compromised. She passes it to Paulo. Paulo gathers his team and hits the warehouse, except we're waiting for him. With what? Jin asked. The three of us against however many people Paulo brings. With the FBI, we tip off the U.S. attorney directly, bypass Sarah entirely. Tell them you have intelligence that Paulo Reyes is planning an armed assault on a specific location at a specific time. They send a tactical team. Paulo walks into a federal sting operation. He gets arrested. Min loses his weapon, and Sarah gets exposed as the leak when the Bureau investigates how Paulo knew to target that location. David nodded slowly. It could work. We need to coordinate the timing perfectly. Paulo can't arrive before the FBI, or we've just given him a warehouse to fortify. And Jin can't be anywhere near it, Naomi said, in case something goes wrong. This entire operation depends on Paulo believing Jin is vulnerable and making a move. If Paulo even suspects it's a trap, he'll vanish. Jin walked to the window, stared out at the forest. My father taught me that the best way to defeat an enemy is to make them overconfident. Make them believe they've already won. Then, when they're celebrating, you put a knife in their back. I'm not suggesting we kill Paulo, Naomi said. I'm suggesting we let the law handle him. The law, Jin repeated, almost laughing. The same law that employs Sarah Brennan. The same law that would put me in prison if I wasn't useful to their case. You really believe they'll handle Paulo? That he won't walk on some technicality or disappear into witness protection if he flips on men? I believe it's better than letting him keep burning down your buildings and killing your people. Jin turned to face them. You're right. We'll do it. But not just Paulo. We use this opportunity to get evidence on Sarah, on Min's corruption inside the Bureau, on everyone involved. We burn the whole thing down. Over the next 48 hours, they constructed the trap. David fed false information through a backdoor channel. A former member of Jin's security team who'd been fired 6 months ago and had been fishing for information about Jin's location. The man was desperate enough to believe he was getting a second chance, stupid enough not to question why David would suddenly reach out. He passed the warehouse location to Sarah Brennan, claiming he'd heard it from a reliable source. Sarah took the bait. The surveillance footage showed her at Dragon's Den that same night, staying for 90 minutes. By morning, Paulo's people were conducting reconnaissance on the warehouse. He's planning the hit, David confirmed, watching the surveillance feeds. 4 vehicles spotted near the warehouse in the last 12 hours. They're mapping entry points, timing police patrols, building their assault plan. Jin contacted the U.S. attorney directly using a secured line, bypassing Sarah entirely. I have actionable intelligence on Paulo Reyes. He's planning an armed assault on a warehouse in South Atlanta tomorrow night at 10 p.m. If you have tactical assets in position, you can take him down. The U.S. attorney wanted details, wanted to know how Jin knew, wanted to know where Jin was and why he'd left protective custody. Because your protective custody is compromised, Jin said. Special Agent Sarah Brennan is on Min Park's payroll. She's been feeding Paulo my location, my movements, my testimony schedule. I have proof, but I need you to trust me for the next 24 hours. Put a team on that warehouse. When Paulo shows up, you'll have everything you need. The U.S. attorney agreed, reluctantly. Conditional on Jin showing up to testify regardless of what happened at the warehouse. I'll be there, Jin promised. I just need to stay alive long enough. The night of the operation, Naomi and Jin stayed at the safe house. David volunteered to be on site, hidden 3 blocks from the warehouse with a camera and a radio, providing real-time updates. FBI is in position, David's voice crackled over the radio at 9:45 p.m. Tactical team, 12 agents positioned in 3 locations around the warehouse. They're good. Professional. If Paulo shows, they'll take him clean. And Paulo? Jin asked. 6 vehicles just pulled into the area. I count at least 20 men, all armed. They're staging 2 blocks south. Looks like they're waiting for a signal. Naomi checked her watch. 9:52 p.m. They'll move at 10. Psychological timing. Paulo wants this to feel coordinated, professional. He's probably told his people this is a quick in and out. Neutralize the target. Extract. Disappear. Except the target isn't there, Jin said. At 9:58 p.m., David's voice came through tense and urgent. Paulo's team is moving, all 6 vehicles. They're converging on the warehouse from 3 directions. FBI is holding position. Looks like they're letting Paulo commit before they spring the trap. Naomi and Jin watched the monitors showing David's camera feed. The quality was grainy, but clear enough. 6 SUVs pulling up to the warehouse, men with automatic weapons climbing out, moving with military precision toward the building. Then lights. Everywhere. FBI tactical vehicles flooding the area, spotlights illuminating Paulo's team, loudspeakers booming. Federal agents, drop your weapons, get on the ground now. Chaos. Some of Paulo's men dropped their weapons immediately. Others ran. A few opened fire, and the night exploded with muzzle flashes. Shots fired, David reported. FBI is returning fire. This is going loud. The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes. Paulo's people were outgunned, outmaneuvered. The FBI tactical team was too professional, too well trained. One by one, Paulo's men went down or surrendered. Paulo is in custody, David said. I repeat, Paulo Reyes is in federal custody. They're zip-tying him now, and... Wait, they're arresting someone else. Someone who just arrived on scene. Hold on, I'm zooming in. It's Sarah Brennan. They're arresting Sarah. Jin closed his eyes, exhaled slowly. They got her. The U.S. attorney must have moved fast, Naomi said. Probably had agents watching her, waiting to see if she'd show up at the warehouse. When she did, it confirmed everything. David's voice came through again. FBI is clearing the scene. Looks like 4 of Paulo's men are down, not moving. The rest are in custody. Total victory for the good guys. Jin opened a bottle of soju, poured 2 glasses, handed one to Naomi. 4 more days until your daughter comes home. Naomi took the glass. They clinked glasses, drank in silence. The monitors showed FBI agents loading Paulo and his men into transport vehicles. Sarah Brennan was being led away in handcuffs, her face a mask of shock and betrayal. It's not over, Jin said quietly. Paulo was Min's weapon, but Min still has resources. He'll regroup, send someone else. Not in 4 days he won't. The trial is in 17 days, with Paulo in federal custody and Sarah exposed. Min's lost his intelligence pipeline and his enforcement arm. He's blind and toothless. Min survived 20 years in this business by never being either of those things. Jin refilled his glass. He'll adapt. The question is, how fast? The answer came 36 hours later. Naomi was in her room reviewing the surveillance footage from Dragon's Den when David burst through the door without knocking. His face was pale, his hands shaking. It's Sojin, he said. Jin's sister. She's gone. Naomi was on her feet instantly. Gone how? She missed her check-in call with Jin. He called her dorm. Her roommate said she left yesterday afternoon and never came back. Campus security found her car in the parking lot, doors unlocked, her phone and purse inside. Oxford police are treating it as a missing persons case. Min took her. That's Jin's assumption. He's in the war room. You need to get down there now. Naomi grabbed her Glock and ran. In the war room, Jin was on the phone, speaking rapid Korean, his voice tight with controlled fury. When he saw her, he hung up. Min has Sojin, he said. He called me 5 minutes ago. Didn't make threats, didn't make demands. Just said, your sister sends her regards, and hung up. That's the message. He has her, and if I testify, she dies. He's bluffing. He wouldn't actually kill her. She's family. Min killed his own father to take control of the organization 30 years ago. Family means nothing to him. Jin's hands were shaking. I thought she'd be safe. Thought Oxford was too far, too public, too much international attention. I was wrong. David pulled up a map on the monitor. If Min has her, he's moved her back to the States. Probably LA. That's his power base, his infrastructure. He'll keep her somewhere secure until after the trial date. If Jin doesn't show, or if he testifies, Sojin dies. And if Jin doesn't testify, the immunity deal is void, Naomi said. The The U.S. attorney prosecutes him along with Min. Jin goes to prison. Better prison than my sister's death. Jin stood, started pacing. I'm calling the U.S. attorney, telling them I'm out. No testimony, no cooperation. They can do whatever they want to me. Naomi grabbed his arm. Stop. Think. If you walk away from this deal, what happens to your sister? Min has no reason to keep her alive. She's a loose end, a witness. He'll kill her anyway. Then what do you suggest? I can't testify and I can't walk away. There's no third option. Yes, there is. We get her back. Jin laughed, harsh and bitter. Get her back from Jin Park in Los Angeles, surrounded by his entire organization? With what army? With me. Naomi released his arm. You said Min keeps her somewhere secure. That means a location with guards, protocols, surveillance, which means it can be breached. I've breached harder targets with worse odds. This isn't Mogadishu. This isn't a military operation. You're right. It's better. Because in Mogadishu, I had a team that followed orders I didn't believe in. This time, I'm making my own calls. And I'm not leaving anyone behind. David cleared his throat. Even if we could locate Sojin, even if we could plan an extraction, we'd need time, resources, intelligence. We have 4 days until your meeting with Maya. 3 days after that, the trial starts. That's 1 week total. It's not enough. Naomi looked at Jin, really looked at him, saw the same exhaustion she'd been carrying for 3 years, the weight of choices made, people lost, principles compromised in the name of survival. 4 days until I see Maya, she said quietly. Or I postpone the meeting, help you get your sister back, and hope the marshals don't relocate her in the meantime. No, Jin said immediately. I'm not asking you to sacrifice your daughter for my sister. That's not the deal. You've done everything I've asked and more. The meeting happens in 4 days. I'll figure out something else. Like what? Turn yourself into Min? Offer yourself in exchange for Sojin? You think he'll honor that trade? Naomi shook her head. The only way your sister survives is if we extract her before the trial, which means we have 1 week to find her, plan the operation, and execute. It's not impossible, just hard. It's suicide. So was stepping between you and 5 armed men. So was leading Paulo's people on a chase through Koreatown. So was everything I've done since the moment I decided to stop being a victim and start being a soldier again. Naomi met his eyes. You gave me a way back to my daughter. Let me give you a way back to your sister. Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then, you postponed the meeting with Maya. There's no guarantee the marshals will reschedule. They could decide you're too high risk, cut off contact entirely. Then I'll deal with that when it happens. Right now, your sister is alive and we have a window to save her. That's what matters. David pulled up files on the monitor. If we're doing this, we need to move fast. I'll reach out to my contacts in LA, see if anyone knows where Min might be holding a high-value captive. In the meantime, we need to plan for multiple scenarios. Residential location, commercial building, or rural compound. Each requires different tactics. We also need to assume Min is expecting a rescue attempt, Naomi said. He took Sojin specifically to bait Jin into doing something stupid. So whatever we plan, it has to be unexpected. Something Min won't see coming. Jin pulled out his phone, started scrolling through contacts. I have people in LA, not many, and I don't know who I can trust, but there are a few who owed my father debts they can't refuse. I'll reach out, see what intel I can gather. Do it carefully. If Min finds out you're making inquiries, he'll know we're planning a move. I know how to be subtle. Jin made the first call, switching to Korean. Naomi couldn't follow the conversation, but she recognized the tone. Careful, respectful, trading in favors and obligation rather than money or threats. He made 6 calls over the next 3 hours. By the end, he had a location. Sojin is being held in a warehouse complex in the port of Los Angeles, Jin said, pointing to a satellite image David pulled up. It's owned by one of Min's shell companies used to process imports from Asia. Legitimate on paper, but it's also where Min stores weapons and contraband before distribution. Heavy security, at least 10 guards on site at all times, cameras, motion sensors, the full package. How reliable is this intel? Naomi asked. The source is a dock supervisor who's been skimming from Min's shipments for years. He hates Min, but he's terrified of him. He wouldn't lie because he knows Min would find out eventually, but he also wouldn't stick his neck out to help us. This is a one-time information drop. After this, he's done. Naomi studied the satellite imagery. The warehouse complex was massive. Multiple buildings spread across 10 acres of industrial waterfront. Shipping containers, cranes, trucks, lots of places to hide, lots of angles to cover. "This is a fortress," David said, even with surprise on our side. Extracting a hostage from this location with 10 guards is nearly impossible. We'd need a full tactical team. "Or we need to make them think they're not under attack," Naomi said. "What if this wasn't an extraction? What if it was a trade?" Jin frowned. "A trade requires having something Min wants. He wants you, so we give him you, or at least we make him think he's getting you." "You want to use Jin as bait again." "Not bait. Leverage. We arrange a meeting. Jin offers to trade himself for Sojin. Min agrees because it's what he wants anyway. We set the meeting at a location we control, somewhere public enough that Min won't risk killing Jin outright. He'll want to extract him quietly, take him somewhere secure before dealing with him. That's when we hit them, during the transfer." Jin considered this. "It could work, but Min will bring overwhelming force. He won't risk letting me escape. Then we bring overwhelming force back. We call in the FBI, tell them we've set up a meeting with Jin Park, that he'll be there personally to take custody of a witness. They'll have tactical teams positioned to arrest him. Except the FBI doesn't know where I am. The moment I contact them, they'll demand I come in. They'll take control of the operation, and they'll prioritize arresting Min over rescuing Sojin. Then we don't tell them about Sojin. We just tell them Jin Park will be at a specific location, at a specific time, to commit a felony kidnapping of a federal witness. They'll respond with force. We use their response to create chaos, extract Sojin during the confusion, and disappear before anyone can stop us." David whistled low. "That's insane. You're talking about orchestrating a federal operation without their knowledge or consent, using them as cover for what amounts to a vigilante rescue mission." "You have a better idea?" He didn't. None of them did. They spent the next 12 hours planning. Naomi sketched out the tactical approach. Entry points, fallback positions, contingency plans for when everything went wrong. Because everything always went wrong. Jin made the call to Min at 3 a.m., knowing his uncle would be awake, would be waiting. "I want my sister back," Jin said in Korean, but Naomi could hear the English translation through the speaker. "Name your terms." Min's voice was cold, amused. "You know my terms. You don't testify. You accept that your father's legacy belongs to me. You walk away from this righteous crusade and disappear. And Sojin lives a long, happy life in Oxford, never knowing how close she came to dying because of her brother's arrogance." "I don't believe you. You'll kill her anyway. She's a witness to kidnapping, to your entire operation. You can't let her live." Min was quiet for a moment. "You're right," Min said finally. "I can't. But I can make her death painless, quick, merciful, or I can make it last days. Your choice, nephew. Walk away from the trial and she dies easy. Testify and I'll make sure her last hours are spent begging for death." Jin's jaw clenched. "There's a third option. I trade myself for her. You get what you really want. Me. Dead or alive, it doesn't matter. Just let Sojin go." "Now we're negotiating." Min's tone shifted, became almost pleased. "You'd really sacrifice yourself for your sister? Your father would be disappointed. He taught you better than that." "My father taught me that family is everything, so yes, I'll trade myself, but only if Sojin walks away free and unharmed." "When and where?" "Tomorrow night, 9 p.m., the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown LA. Public location, plenty of witnesses, security cameras everywhere. You bring Sojin to the lobby. I walk in alone. We make the exchange in plain sight. You get me?" She walks away. Min laughed. "You think I'm stupid? The Bonaventure is a trap. You'll have FBI waiting." "I'm a wanted man, Uncle. The FBI is hunting me as much as they're hunting you. I can't risk bringing them in. This is just you, me, and Sojin. One exchange, then it's over. I'll think about it." "You have 12 hours to decide. After that, I disappear and you never get another chance. I'll testify. I'll put you in prison, and Sojin's death will be on your conscience, if you have one." Jin hung up. His hands were shaking. Naomi handed him the soju bottle. He drank straight from it. He'll agree, David said. He wants Jin too badly to pass this up, but he'll bring enough firepower to start a war. Good, Naomi said. The FBI will have probable cause for a major response. We tip them off that Min Park will be at the Bonaventure at 9 p.m. with a kidnapping victim. They'll bring SWAT, hostage rescue, the whole package. And we'll be in the middle of it, Jin said. I'll be in the middle of it. You'll be outside, ready to extract Sojin the moment I get her clear of Min's people. You're going in alone? I'm the only one Min doesn't know. David, he might recognize from your time with Jin's father. You, he definitely knows. But me? I'm just another person in a hotel lobby. I can get close, assess the situation, and move when the opportunity presents itself. Jin shook his head. This is too dangerous. We should call it off. Find another way. There is no other way. We have 6 days until the trial. If we don't get Sojin back now, we never will. Naomi stood, started checking her weapons. I've spent 3 years running from fights I should have taken. I'm done running. Your sister deserves better than dying because her brother wanted to do the right thing. So we're doing this. Tomorrow night, the Bonaventure, and we're bringing her home. Min called back 8 hours later. He agreed to the terms. 9 p.m., Bonaventure Hotel, the exchange would happen in the lobby. He'd bring Sojin. Jin would come alone. No tricks, nephew, Min said. No FBI, no police, no clever surprises. Just you and me ending this the way it should have ended 2 years ago when your father died. One family, one leader. The way it's supposed to be. See you tomorrow, Uncle. Jin hung up and immediately called the U.S. attorney. Min Park will be at the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown Los Angeles tomorrow night at 9 p.m. He's bringing a kidnapping victim. If you want to arrest him, that's when and where. The U.S. attorney asked questions. Jin deflected. I have a source inside Min's organization. That's all I can say. But if you miss this opportunity, you'll never get another shot at him. They flew to Los Angeles that afternoon. Commercial flight under false names. Jin wore a baseball cap and sunglasses. Naomi dressed like a tourist. David traveled separately. Different flight, different identity. They couldn't risk being identified together. The Bonaventure Hotel was a massive complex in downtown LA. 4 cylindrical glass towers surrounding a central atrium. Hundreds of guests, multiple exits. Enough chaos that getting lost in the crowd would be easy. Naomi arrived at 7 p.m., 2 hours early. She wore jeans, a leather jacket, her Glock concealed at the small of her back. A tourist checking in, just another face in the crowd. She scoped the exits, the security cameras, the positions where FBI tactical teams would likely stage. By 8:30 p.m., she spotted them. Undercover agents in the lobby, trying to look casual, but with the telltale signs, earpieces, concealed weapons, the way they positioned themselves near exits and choke points. At least 12 agents visible, probably more in reserve. At 8:45 p.m., Min Park arrived. He entered through the main entrance with 6 men, all wearing suits, all obviously armed, despite attempts to conceal their weapons. And walking between 2 of them, looking terrified but unharmed, was a young woman in her early 20s. Asian, slim, wearing Oxford University sweatshirt. Sojin. Naomi keyed her radio. Target in sight. Sojin appears unharmed. Min has 6 guards, heavily armed. FBI is positioned but hasn't moved yet. They're waiting for Jin. Jin's voice came back. I'm 2 minutes out. Wait for my signal. Min and his entourage positioned themselves in the center of the lobby, near the fountain. Sojin stood beside Min, his hand on her arm. Not violent, but possessive. A reminder that she belonged to him now. The FBI agents were closing in, subtly tightening the perimeter. They'd wait until Jin arrived, until the exchange was about to happen. Then they'd move. Maximum evidence, maximum charges. Jin walked through the main entrance at exactly 9 p.m. No disguise now, just him. Expensive suit, empty hands raised to show he wasn't armed. Every eye in the lobby turned toward him. Min smiled. Nephew, right on time. Let her go, Uncle. That was the deal. The deal was you for her. I don't see you in handcuffs yet. Min gestured to one of his men who produced zip ties. Put these on, voluntarily. Then I release Sojin. Jin took the zip ties, started to put them on. That's when Naomi moved. She closed the distance between herself and Sojin in 4 steps, her hand going to the small of her back where the Glock waited. She didn't draw it. Didn't need to yet. Just positioned herself between Sojin and Min's guard. FBI! Everyone on the ground now! The shout came from 3 directions simultaneously. FBI agents emerging from cover, weapons drawn, tactical teams flooding the lobby. Chaos erupted, guests screaming, running, diving behind furniture. Min's guards reached for their weapons. The FBI opened fire. Not to kill, not yet, just suppressing fire, forcing them down. Naomi grabbed Sojin's arm, pulled her away from Min. Come with me. Now. Sojin didn't argue. Naomi dragged her toward the nearest exit, moving fast but not running, trying not to draw attention from the FBI agents focused on Min and his guards. They were 20 feet from the exit when one of Min's guards broke free, sprinted after them. Naomi spun, finally drawing her Glock and put 2 rounds center mass. The guard dropped. More gunfire. Jin was on the ground, hands over his head, playing the terrified bystander. Smart. The FBI wouldn't target him if he looked like a civilian. Naomi and Sojin burst through the exit into a loading area. David was waiting in the SUV, engine running. They threw themselves into the back seat. David took off before the door was fully closed. Jin? Naomi shouted. Right behind you, David said, pointing at the rearview mirror. Another vehicle, Jin behind the wheel, pulling out of the parking garage. They drove, fast but not reckless. North on Grand Avenue, merging into traffic, just another set of vehicles in downtown LA's evening rush. Behind them, sirens. Lots of sirens. The FBI descending on the Bonaventure in force. Is she okay? David asked. Naomi checked Sojin over, bruises on her wrists where she'd been restrained, exhausted, terrified, but alive. She's good. Sojin, you're safe now. Your brother got you out. Sojin started crying, not scared. Crying, relief crying. Jin? Where's Jin? Right behind us. We're meeting him at a safe location. You'll see him in 10 minutes. They rendezvoused at a storage facility in Inglewood. Private units, no cameras. Jin was out of his car before it fully stopped, running to Sojin, pulling her into his arms. She collapsed against him, and for a moment, they just held each other. Naomi gave them space, checked her phone. News alerts were already flooding in. Shooting at the Bonaventure Hotel. Multiple casualties. FBI arrests high-ranking organized crime figure Min Park and 6 associates. Federal witness Jin Park safe and in custody. Except Jin wasn't in custody. He was here, holding his sister, and the FBI had no idea where he'd gone. We have maybe 2 hours before the FBI realizes Jin isn't with them, David said. Then they'll start looking. Hard. Jin released Sojin, wiped his eyes. Thank you, both of you. I don't have words for what you've done. Save it for after the trial, Naomi said. We got Sojin back, but we're not done. You still have to testify in 5 days, and now the FBI is going to be very interested in how you orchestrated Min's arrest without their knowledge. Let them be interested. Min is in custody. Sarah Brennan is in custody. Paulo is in custody. The organization is fractured. I can testify now without fear of retaliation. And my daughter? Naomi asked quietly. Jin pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke for 3 minutes, mostly listening, then hung up. The meeting is rescheduled, 3 days from now, Asheville, 2 hours with Maya. The marshals weren't happy about the delay, but I convinced them it was a security issue. You'll get your time with her. Naomi felt something tight in her chest release. 3 days, 72 hours, then she'd hold Maya again. What happens after the trial? Sojin asked. Min is arrested, but his people are still out there. They'll come after us. No, Jin said, they won't. Because Min's arrest means the organization collapses. Without his leadership, the lieutenants will fight among themselves for control. They'll be too busy destroying each other to worry about us. And after I testify, I'm free. New identity, new life, far away from Los Angeles and everything our father built. He looked at Naomi. You too. New identity, clean record, enough money to start over with Maya. That was always the deal. I'm honoring it. 5 days later, Jin Park testified before a federal grand jury. He gave them everything: names, dates, financial records, shipping routes, the entire infrastructure of the Yakuza pipeline through the southeast. By the time he finished, 17 arrest warrants had been issued. Min Park was indicted on 43 counts, including racketeering, human trafficking, and conspiracy to commit murder. Sarah Brennan was charged with corruption and obstruction of justice. Paulo Reyes faced 27 charges related to arson, attempted murder, and organized crime, and Jin Park walked out of the courthouse a free man under the Federal Witness Protection Program. 2 days before the trial, Naomi met Maya in a supervised facility in Asheville. 2 hours, just them, no screens, no distance. Maya ran into her arms, crying, and Naomi held her daughter and tried to memorize everything. The way she smelled like strawberry shampoo, the gap in her teeth. How much she'd grown. "When can I come home, Mommy?" Maya asked. "Soon, baby. Very soon." 3 months later, Naomi Wells legally became Naomi Jackson, complete with federal background check clearance. She received custody of Maya under her new identity. They moved to Portland, Oregon. Naomi opened a self-defense studio. Maya enrolled in 3rd grade. Jin Park became Michael Song, restaurant owner in Seattle. Sojin finished her degree at Oxford, then joined him in Seattle under a new identity. One afternoon, Jin walked into Naomi's studio unannounced. Maya was at school. The space was empty except for Naomi running through kata exercises. "Hey," he said. "Hey, yourself!" Naomi stopped, grabbed a towel. "You're not supposed to be here. Witness protection rules." "I'm breaking a lot of rules these days." Jin looked around the studio. "Nice place. You built this yourself?" "With the money you gave me. Thank you, by the way. I never properly said that." "You saved my sister's life. We're more than even." Jin was quiet for a moment. "I wanted to ask you something. A favor." "Another one?" "The last one. I promise. Sojin and I are opening a restaurant in Seattle next month. High-end Korean cuisine, completely legitimate, no mob connections whatsoever. We need a head of security, someone who understands violence but chooses not to use it unless absolutely necessary. Someone who keeps people safe without becoming a monster." Naomi smiled. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a partnership. Equal say, equal share. You, me, Sojin, 3 people who survived hell and decided to build something better." "I have Maya now. I can't just leave Portland." "Seattle is 3 hours away. You could commute weekly or we could work out an arrangement. I'm not asking you to choose between your daughter and a future. I'm saying you can have both." Naomi looked around her studio, at the life she'd built from the ashes of everything she'd lost. "I'll think about it." "That's all I ask." Jin left. Naomi went back to her exercises. That evening, she picked Maya up from school. They walked home together, Maya talking about her day, her friends, her upcoming dance recital. "Mommy, are we safe now?" Maya asked suddenly. Naomi squeezed her hand. "Yes, baby, we're safe." "Promise?" "I promise." And for the first time in 3 years, Naomi meant it. The past would always be there. The choices made, the lives lost, the violence that shaped who she'd become. But the past didn't own her anymore. She'd fought her way free, burned down the threats, and saved what mattered most. She had her daughter back. She had a future. She had peace. And sometimes, late at night, when Maya was asleep, Naomi would stand at the window and remember the restaurant, the 5 gunmen, the moment she chose to move instead of hide. She'd been a soldier who refused an unlawful order, a mother who sacrificed everything for her child, a woman who'd learned that sometimes the only way out is through the fire. And she'd survived. They all had. That was enough. If you love this story of courage, sacrifice, and redemption, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us which moment had you on the edge of your seat. Was it Naomi's explosive first fight, the rooftop rescue, the tense showdown at the Bonaventure? Let us know, and don't forget to like this video to help others discover this incredible journey. We'll see you in the next story.